man's land, which is the Miracle Strip. It is something that we really need to be marketing, and nobody's doing anything about it. So it's a great tour. Our tour guide is Dr. David Eschenfelder, and it is just amazing. I had a few brochures. If you want to know more, ask me about it. We'll be scheduling another tour sometime soon, but I wanted to mention that. Senator John Milkovich has authored Senate Bill 55, and that will be before the Senate Education Committee, just before committee. And
we definitely apologize for the conditions in this room here. I basically have the thermostat set to cool. I'm not sure if it was set to cool, but it is now set to cool. And this is about as good as it's going to get tonight, apparently. If it's, I think it's starting to get a little cooler than it was about 15-20 minutes ago. But all right, if there are no other announcements that need to be made, let's go on to our speakers here. Our first speaker, is Rod going to be our first speaker?
Let me introduce you.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully Mr. C.L. Bryant needs a very long introduction to our group here. You can catch him on the radio every weekday from 12 o'clock to 2 p.m. on Red State Talk Radio, which is online only in this area, I think. And also from 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays on The Promise, 90.7 FM. So without further ado, Mr. Bryant. Thank you.
My friends and fellow Americans, thank you so much for welcoming me back home. This is where I got my start. 9 years ago, Parish Tax Day Rally, April 15th, at the Convention Center. We were on their property. A group in Washington, D.C., Freedom Works, saw the speech that was put online that I gave there 9 years ago this year, April 15th this year. And friends like you, where I got my start nationally. And so this is home for me. Of course, our digs back then was not as good as Mickle Hall, but we've come a long way. Folks, I'll come back another time and give you one of the rah speeches that I do around the country. But tonight, I have a question for you. As Republicans, conservatives, fiscal conservatives here in Shreveport, Louisiana, my hometown. Brenda and I attended the same high school. We go way back. Bear Park High School. All of you know that Shreveport's a much different place now, Brenda, than it was then. And when we ask the question about leadership here in Shreveport, Louisiana, when I talk to people around our city, Jane and I now have, we have a home here. We still have a place down in Grand Cane, but we have a home here in Broadmoor. And the question is always asked, what's going on? How did we get here? And it's simply one word: leadership. We were led to this point, and yes, the demographics in Shreveport is changing, but there are certain core values that are very much alive in the voting citizenship of this country, and you represent that core. If we want to restore our city, if we want to take our city back, it's going to be people like you. Now, there's going to be several mayoral candidates that will be running in this upcoming mayoral race. And quite frankly, I know all of them. There's only one that I feel makes sense to win this race and to bring fresh and new ideas to a city that is withering on the vine. He is someone who is very articulate, nationally known. But this is something that would be very important to you. He's not liked by the inner circles here in Shreveport, Louisiana.
It's okay.
He is a threat to them, and they like to let him know it. So that should tell you something about breaking free of the same old, same old. Friends, I am telling you, you have an opportunity now to at least hear from someone who has ideas for Shreveport. It's not a part of the cartel that has been running this city for so long. And I can say this, he is a Republican just like us, but he's not a white male Republican, and friends, let's just be honest. A white male Republican cannot win the mayor's chair in this town. Just won't happen. But we can bring to them a splitting rail, a rail splitter, in the form of the next voice that I want you to hear, that I want you to consider as a friend, as I know him as a friend. You know me, I would not bring or even allow you to consider anyone who does not have our core value beliefs. So please help me welcome now my good friend, television star, host of his own show, Murder Chose Me, 25-year law enforcement, and he's an author, and he'll tell you the rest of the story. Rodney L.
Thanks, my friend, for such a wonderful introduction. And I'm gonna get right to the point and give you guys a little background on who I am and why I'm actually here. I worked for the city for 18 years as a police officer. I was a homicide investigator. During that tenure, we worked probably 254 murders. 60 of those murders I was lead investigator on. After I came to the end of my career, I got contacted by investigation discovery and some production companies, and they want to talk about some of the murders that happened in Shreveport. That was God's plan. That was not my plan. I appreciate it when people say that, you know, he's on TV, does this, that. But the reality is that it's just a platform. When I was a small child, my mother was killed when I was 3 years old. My grandfather, veteran of the Air Force, was in New Mexico. So he raised my brother and I. I was 3 and my brother was 5. And I didn't quite understand all the dynamics. You know, New Mexico is vastly different from Louisiana. Louisiana is probably zero when it comes to diversity. You know, everybody's either on one side or the other side. New Mexico, there's one group, cowboys. If you don't ride horses or dip snuff, then you don't eat chicken. That's just the way it is. But growing up, my grandparents, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. And, you know, as we all grow older, you know, we kind of start to stray away a little bit. But everything that they taught me always stayed in my head. I didn't quite understand it at that point. I was a small boy. I'd come home and my grandmother would, you know, I'd bring everybody in the den and I'd sit them down and I'd preach to them, right? And my great-grandmother would say, that boy's got the mark of a preacher. Well, I don't. I am not. But I do believe that my work was my calling and my ministry. It's just that simple. That's because the set of circumstances that got me to where I am were just extraordinary. I graduated from LSUS. I started school in New Mexico, but I graduated from LSUS. I worked for the police department. I was in the Navy, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, so I did all those things. But the things that made me successful in police work was the fact that my experiences in life. After my mother was killed, I didn't know a whole lot about it because I was so young. But my brother remembered a lot more than I did. My brother, after I got back from Japan, my brother went to prison for killing someone. And my brother's in prison and he's been there for the past 24 years. Now, his choices and his decision to do whatever he did in his life are all his. But the two things that I learned from both of those, when my mother was murdered, I learned how to deal with people who have lost somebody to violent crimes. It's just that simple. I knew and could feel the survivors. If I had a little kid, I knew what that kid was going to experience when he grew up. Or if I went to a woman and her daughter had been killed, I knew what my grandmother went through. So that gave me a unique set of circumstances and experiences that I never thought I would ever have. As my brother grew and he got into whatever he got into, I learned how to deal with criminals, and I was able to separate the crime from the criminal. The reality was, my brother and I played G.I. Joes. We rode bicycles, we rode skateboards, and that never left me. The fact that he parted from what we were taught is him. You know, I love my brother. There's nothing he's ever done that I'm ashamed of, but I can pretty comfortably say that that was his choice. Now, if CL was talking about leadership, and I work right now, so I'm going to give you guys a disclaimer. I'm not going to publicly say that I'm running for office until there's a time and place to do that. But what I will tell you is that I can't talk about leadership, and I can tell you what I see the problems are, and they're pretty simple. If you, and I don't want to misquote the scripture, so I'm going to paraphrase it, but in Jeremiah there's a lot of talk about the leadership, basically. How from the least to the greatest, from the prophet and even to the priest, they live in falsehoods. They don't have the ability to blush. What's interesting about that is that if we look at our community, and whether it's in Shreveport or anywhere else, you'll see a bunch of people that seem to have been off the rails. Crime is skyrocketing, people are killing each other. That's because, as CL said, there's no leadership. You know, and as that scripture goes on, you know, where's the lead? You know, do the people not have a king in them? This is the question. Well, if you relate that to present day times, some of the atrocities that you see are real. And 18 years working violent crime, I saw things that I never thought I'd see before. I grew up in New Mexico, I was sheltered. Some of the murders that I worked would make your head spin. And the fact that people seem not to have any care or concern or humanity about them is amazing to me. You know, I've seen pregnant women, I've seen young kids, and I've worked all these crime scenes. That's not what bothered me, because I knew what my purpose was. What bothered me was the response and the apathy to that. When you see a country or a community for that matter, people are being slaughtered in the street, and it's almost commonplace. You know, the priority is that, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. But the priority is the safety of people. I hear a lot of people talking about, well, you know what, Shreveport, we need to bring in some economic development. We need to, you know, get Google or Amazon or somebody here, and we're going to stimulate this economy. We're going to get people off the rails. What's interesting about that is that's kind of what Reagan's trickle-down economics, you know, and everybody opposed it. The reality is that before we can do anything at all, Maslow's theory of hierarchy works like this. You need to be clothed and warm. You need to eat. The next need is personal safety. I don't care who comes here. If you're not safe, and your community's not safe, there's a problem. When crime is skyrocketing, that's a problem. I don't have any apprehensions in saying that it's off the chain. And the reason that is because we don't have a society full of people that are just crazy. We don't. We have a society of people that don't have any leadership. When there is no leadership, the people will perish. It's easy to figure out. If you have children in high schools, and I arrested 12 kids out of Woodfield High School several years ago. 10 of them for first-degree murder. Cases like rape, cases of sexual assault, teen violence, all these things are happening. Now, it's real. And what amazes me is the lack of shock, the lack of outrage, the lack of, you know, we got to do something, the immediacy. It's not there. And we can't survive. There is no way that we can survive as a community until that's under control. Basic needs. The police department. I love the police department because they're my family. You know, like people say, you know, sometimes families are dysfunctional, but we're family nonetheless. I can tell you with 100% degree certainty that most police officers are absolutely dedicated to their job. We don't have a bad police department. When you have a police officer who is working 2 or 3 extra jobs, I did it. And now you gotta go work the streets. Is your mind sharp? You know? Have you had enough rest? Are you worried about what's going on at home? Well, obviously, if you have a wife and some kids at home, you spend most time at work, you're irritable, you don't have the money to pay your bills, it falls apart. It's a reality. There is not one police officer that I know that hasn't worked an extra job. That's a shame. It's a shame. There is absolutely nothing more important than the safety of people. That's a basic God-given right. There is no reason why anybody should have to go to Circle K or somewhere and be afraid to get robbed. Go to work, go to visit some kids, go to do whatever, come home, somebody's broken in your house. Worse, in the inner city, people die. They die. It amazes me how people can divorce themselves from that. There is one thing that I've learned in my life. I'm 52 years old, and the thing that I've learned is that pain is universal. I don't care if you're from Mississippi, I don't care if you're from Texas, I don't care if you're from Uganda. When a mother loses a child, it's the same wrenching squeal, and it's universal. The thing that the TV show has brought is just that. It brings people together and humanizes it. It's amazing to get somebody to send a message to somebody in Shreveport that's praying and mourning for somebody in Shreveport that's lost somebody. That's amazing to me. That's God's work. That's, you know, I don't take credit for any of that because it's not me. You know, I realized that I was an instrument to be used for whatever reason. Lately, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, for whatever reason, I've been reading and studying a lot about King David. It's just been in my spirit. And certainly not because I think I'm King David, but it's the flawed man King David is. You know, and I think that there are a couple of things that we have to be able to do as leaders. And that is, one, fear and love God. Be decent to people. There is absolutely nothing anybody can do that's more abominable than when they take whatever lofty position, leadership position, and neglect people. That's just the worst thing that's ever happened. And when you see that happen, you know, and you have any core in you, you have any spirituality, you have any God in you, then you reject it. See, I was right. I'm not very well liked because I say that. And I say it very, very loud. I don't speak on different political issues and just says, you know, I have an opinion on this or opinion on that. I taught classes at the academy, and I always told the police officers, you know, if you don't like black people, you don't like white people, you don't like whatever, you can just forget it. This is not that job for you. You have to protect skinheads. You have to protect radicals in any form or fashion, because that's your job. Your job is to make sure that the people of this country can voice their opinions and their beliefs. But when you look at it, and you look at it on the surface, I mean, is that really happening? I mean, it's so twisted and contorted, you know, and people have these opinions and ideas. If you look at the monument that's in front of the courthouse, it's a big controversy. Huge controversy about it. Now, I'm not going to give you guys an opinion either way, because in my heart, I'm still a police officer. But what I will tell you is that if I am a black man, and I feel at any point I can't get justice, and I'm not going to personalize it to Shreveport because I hurt people's feelings when I do that. If I can't at any point feel like I'm getting racial justice, it has nothing to do with white supremacy. If your leadership, from the top all the way down, is black, who are you being disenfranchised? Now, I don't say that lightly because I know people really internalize that, you know. And I've been black for 52 years, so I understand. Right? But what I also understand is that if I am a police officer, if I'm a senator, if I'm a whatever, and black people feel some sort of injustice, I kind of failed, didn't I? That's what I'm here for. I should be screaming from the top of my lungs. Nobody's got anything to worry about. I'm here. It doesn't matter. You know, I got you covered. And again, I'm not going to personalize anything to our local community, but if you're looking for protest and you look for outrage, it should be somebody who's actually in charge. You don't get to say, whether you're a president, whether you're a CEO of a company, and say that, you know, we have these issues and you're out to help. The United States Navy teaches you one thing: the fuck stops here. Period. I don't get to blame somebody else for my failures. Under no circumstances do I get to blame anybody for my failures. The biggest problem that I see throughout my career and throughout my life is that people will not own their mistakes. They're ashamed. When the rumors started floating around, oh, well, Rod's going to run for mayor. Well, he can't run for mayor. He's not married. He's got children out of wedlock. I absolutely do. And you know what? It's my fault. I'm married. I get divorced. Whatever the reason, I don't get to tell my ex-wife, you did X, Y, and Z, so I'm leaving. I left because I made a choice to. If I'm not able to compromise, if I'm not able to forgive or any of those things, that's a decision that I made. The problem we have is when people fail, and when they fail miserably, they don't have the courage to say those words. It's an amazing thing. There is no one that I've ever met in my life that didn't fail with something. Everybody's got a shortcoming. Everybody's made a mistake. Everybody's wanted to get some redemption of some sort. Almost everybody. Some people just don't. They'll go through their entire lives blaming somebody else for something that they did. Now, as I've grown, I'm a 24-year-old sailor. I'm floating around in port to port, you know, and that was my lifestyle. I'm a 52-year-old man. My life is dramatically different. I have to make sure my children are going to school. I have to make sure they're properly dressed. I have to have those conversations with them that I never even thought about that. That's not the problem. The problem is that if you see these things happen and you never evolve as a person to correct it. I don't get what's going on nationwide. I just don't get it. You know, in 1960, 50 years ago, huge civil rights movement included everybody: white people, black people, Latinos, people from all over the world, for a couple basic rights. We want to vote, we want to go to school, we want opportunity. Martin Luther King, famous for his speeches. You know, I've been to the mountaintop, I've seen the promised land. And it continues on, I may not get there with it. It was a premonition.
But I want you to know tonight that we as a people,
We get to the promised land.
and I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing anything. My eyes have seen the glory that come into the Lord.
Absolutely.
Got the whole
This is what we got.
the whole speech.
If you look back and roll back the hands of times, 50 years, I wouldn't be standing here. I couldn't go to one of the restaurants, I'd have to go to the back. I couldn't go use the bathroom or drink out of the water fountain. You know what? The police would come and arrest me, right? Again, not talking about the Shreveport police. But if you have a black police chief and a black mayor, how is that possible? How is it possible? I'm driving down the street and I'm saying, you know what? I'm being racially profiled. Who sets the policies and procedures? People don't like hearing it. So, you know, there are some things that are shocking to me. And, you know, I've been called everything. I've been called an Uncle Tom. I want to be like white folk. By the way, neither one of those is true. I'm a realist. When I go out and I work murders and I study murders across the country, I had a great conversation with Baltimore homicide detective today. And we went on and on about this. If you have a country where murder is divided, violent crime, any crime, racially, 95% of black people that are killed by black people are killed by black people. Likewise for white people. Here's the problem. Black people are 12% of the United States population. 12%. And if you want to be conservative about it, you can split it in half and say half is women and half is men. Black men are responsible for black crime. For the entire United States, black, white, Latino, Asian, whatever, 54% of violent crime is committed by 6% of the population. That's not because black people are bad. That's because the things that need to be in place aren't in place. You were talking about the schools. You go to a school, the teacher's not teaching. You go to a church, the preacher is trying to date one of his parishioners. You go to, you know, and And it goes on and on and on. When your leadership leaves, people are, goodness, you know? It's pretty simple. Everybody wants to be governed. The reason they want to be governed, because it's security. My son loves to come stay with me. Because when he comes in the house, he has to put his little shoes down. You know, I mean, he makes his bed. He gets up at 7:15. He knows I'm taking him to school. He's ready. Nothing out of order. Go to bed, son. Daddy, I want to go to bed. I let him stay up one night. The next morning, I let him watch TV all night. Next morning, get up and go to school. He comes home with his book bag, want to go lay down. No, he didn't sleep last night. But he likes that. The reason he likes that is because it's structure. He doesn't want to feel like, well, what am I going to do today? What are we going to do today? That's just life in general. People respect their government. They respect their police. They respect their courts. They respect everything that's there. It is respectable. When you decide, as that scripture says, when you decide that for whatever reason, we can create whatever abomination we want. We can do whatever we want to do, and people are still going to respect us. You're sadly mistaken. That's not the worst thing that happens. The fact that they don't respect you is not the worst thing that happens. The worst thing that happens is that people are left at their own devices. And every man, his heart tells him what he thinks is right. It doesn't work. It just won't work. There is not one person that I've met in this century of stable mind, black, white, or other, that doesn't like somebody because of the color of their skin. They may use it, but let's call it for what it is. Evil is evil. I don't care where it comes from.
That's right.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion, and I had a hot debate with a friend of mine about hate crime legislation. Let me tell you my view on hate crime legislation. I think it's a waste of time. The reason I think it's a waste of time is because if you kill somebody, I don't care why you did it. If you kill them because they were gay, they were black, they were straight, whatever, I don't care. You know what? The state of Louisiana doesn't care either, because motive is not necessary to prove murder. If you look back into the 90s, you guys remember when James Byrd was drugged in Texas. He was decapitated. Horrible crime. Texas didn't charge him with the hate crime. They charged him with murder. One rolled on the other, he got life in prison, the other one got executed. Simple as that. What you do is when you divide people by race or by socioeconomic background, is you divide people. If I told you that a 16-year-old boy was killed today, everybody in this room and all throughout this city would be outraged. We're going to do what we got to do to bring this person to justice. But if I stopped that conversation and said, you know what, they did it because he was gay, or they did it because he was black, or because he was white, or because of whatever, you're going to lose half your audience. Because that passion and that evil debate gets lost. The victim completely gets lost. That's amazing. We actually have to wake up. We got to wake up and we got to look around and see what's happening. It's not difficult to figure out if this is not working, then I need to go somewhere else. Yeah, if we continue to go down a path of destruction that causes destruction, why are we going to go down the same path? I know people in this report. I know the inner city report. I know the Parish report. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know what, you're black, you're Republican, you won't get elected. It's not true. If I am out in the street and I'm helping these people bury their children, I'm going out to get the man who's got the gun. There are people in the street report that you couldn't say anything bad about me too when they like you. That's because they know my heart. When you start hearing all this surface stuff and people saying this or saying that or trying to pass judgment on somebody, first you got to consider the source. Secondly, you have to figure out the motivation. Why? If I'm standing in front of you and I'm saying, you know what, we got crime that's skyrocketing throughout the United States. I'm your president. We got economic problems. We got infrastructure problems. We got national defense problems. And then I tell you guys this because, well, you know, those Haitians or those Mexicans or those black people, you should look at me like I'm stupid. It's my job. If you're assigned to any position in life, if you cannot do that job, you don't have character, you don't walk away from it. Get out of the way and let somebody else do it. Because if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, everybody's going to suffer. I hope that I can put something on your mind to make you realize that when you see people out in the street that are in dire straits, they don't want to be there. Some of the asinine statements, oh, you know, people, you know, kill each other and they won't talk to the police and they won't, that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the reason I say that is because I've heard this argument throughout the country. There was a little rapper that said, you know, we got a no snitching thing here. Let me be the first to inform you. Everybody snitches. Everybody. People will tell on their mother as soon as that door closes, they're going to tell. You can't confuse what the national music industry or whatever culture has determined our problem. That's not our problem. Our problem is I've worked murder all my life. When I brought somebody into my office and I was going to do an interrogation, I was going to put them in prison, I knew what I was talking about. When you put somebody in a position where you know they don't have anywhere else to go, they're going to tell you exactly what you do. And if you find somebody that was there with them and you let them know that you got them to, they're going to tell it to you. I've never in my life met somebody that was willing to go to prison for somebody else. But we fall for it. We listen to it. Oh, yeah, no, Ken said there's no sense. Oh, they're okay. Oh, no sense, and that's why we can't solve crime. They sent you to this detective school to learn to detect. Right? Nobody's going to tell me anything, so how do I generate leads? How do I get witnesses? How do I get information to solve this crime? That's my job. If it was because somebody in the community didn't like the police and wouldn't talk to me, anybody can be a police officer, somebody's going to come tell you everything. We got to open up our eyes and open up our minds. And I don't want to disparage anybody, and I certainly will do that. I certainly point out names or whatever, or even organizations until there's a proper time and place for that. But what I can say is that when there's a failure in leadership. Exactly as it is. When leadership fails, it fails. People don't all of a sudden just go crazy. People need to be protected. They need to be loved. Our hearts love you. You know, God gave us the ability to do right and do wrong. He gave us this, or most of us, this idea that we should have compassion for our brother and our sister, right? Some people don't have that. They just don't have it. So what do? You don't wait for somebody to tell you what happened. You go out and you take care of your people. If you don't take care of your people, you're going to lose your people. You lose your people, you're going to lose your community. You lose your community, you're going to lose your community. And these are very simple things. You know, the 10 Commandments are only 10. You know, there were 637 other do's and don'ts in the Bible, but they all go back to the first 10. Right? You don't do this, you don't do this, you don't do that. It's doubly important if you're in charge of making sure people are safe from other people doing those things. If you fail your people, where are they going to go? If I don't teach my child to read, how's he going to learn? If the school fails him, how's he going to learn? You know, and the argument that, well, you know, these parents aren't raising their kids. You know, okay, that's why we're here. You know, not because we want to raise their kids, but when they step out of line, we got to deal with it. That's why, if everyone was homeschooled, we wouldn't need a school system. If everyone was able to patrol their neighborhoods, we wouldn't need a police department. The reason these things are in place is because some people don't have parents. Some people don't have structured neighborhoods. And you know what? We got to do what's right for the greater good. It's just that simple. You know what? We don't ask anybody. We require them to. We don't do it because we're mad at them. We don't do it because we don't like them or the color of their skin. We do it because we have to protect the greater good. It's just that simple. You know, I get frustrated. I get confused because I don't understand. In my mind, there should be no one in leadership anywhere that's comfortable. How can you sleep at night knowing all this is happening? That's my concern. You can't sell that little, well, we need to, you know, we get Amazon to come here, or we get Google to do this. You know, if you get people able to go to the store without getting shot, that's what you do. Let's take baby steps. So,
When do you have to declare your
July.
candidacy?
18, 19, 20.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like I work in public service, so clearly if I talk about this person or that person, they're going to say, you know.
Any other questions? Mr. Long?
My question actually, I think should be directed to you because you might be able to say some things that he can't. And there, as I understand it, there is a resistance to this candidate among a certain power group in the city. Could you expand on that a little bit?
I'll be very clear about it. And this is not Rod speaking, this is me speaking. And one of the reasons why I like this man is because I know that if Shreveport had a lower crime rate tomorrow morning, it would be 100% better place to live. Part of the cartel that I had mentioned, and I've known him all my life, is the Greg Tarver cartel. There's no question about that. There is a stranglehold on this city. And we have to have courage enough to break that stranglehold with someone who has the courage to stand up to it. And so that's where we are. Because we can't continue in this city the way it is and it survived. Yes, sir.
Would you please accept an invitation if you declare July to come to the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association Mayoral Forum in September?
I want to do it to the last one.
And
So I would
if you
absolutely-
do, join first, pay $20 dues. That way you can be introduced as a member of the Neighborhood Association.
I love to. You know, there are so many things that I've seen, and I'm not coming to you guys from theory. You know, I'm not telling you I think this is going to happen, or I think if we do this we can stop crime. I'm telling you what we can do because I did. It's that simple, you know. And that's not me being braggadocious. That's just the reality. I mean, I know how to stop crime. I know how to reduce crime. I know how to arrest people. What happens. So I don't believe in theories. I don't believe in suppositions. I don't believe in cause and effect. I believe in going straight to the problem. And the number one problem that we have everywhere is people aren't safe. And what's worse than not being safe? The only other thing is not feeling safe.
Miss Diane.
Yes, I want to address CL this week. We know that it's not just Greg Tarver, that there are a lot of white
Oh yeah.
hotel
Oh yeah.
people. In fact, there's a much majority
Oh yeah.
running the cartel here, and there are real enemies.
Yeah.
They're the ones that use the black man and the black woman to their advantage.
That's right.
Very good. I'm glad you said it, Diane. I was waiting for you to do so.
Yeah.
But folks, I want you to understand that law and order, our president ran on basically that platform. Law and order. Make America great again, make it safe again, make it prosperous again. And those very same words are the words that we need to hear about this city from someone who understands how to go about doing that. Not someone who just talked the talk, but someone who has been out there. The reason why I support this president, because he's a builder. And American infrastructure in every part of America needs rebuilding. He has seen the inner city of New York and worked with the corruption there in New York, and this president has been successful. I'm not speaking for Rod as far as his statement of the president, that's me speaking, but I can say this about Rod Demery, and I certainly hope that he can be encouraged to run by people like you. That's why I wanted him to come and meet you tonight. Is that he's been out there in these streets, he's seen these streets of Shreveport, and he looks at it, those streets of Shreveport from our perspective. And he's a Republican who happens to be black. I think it is something that we can, in fact, embrace and tell your friends about, because we can take back our city. We can win again. We can make it great. We can make it a good city. Shreveport's not a bad town at all. It's just some bad stuff going on here that need people who understands how to break it up and will enforce the law. That's what
If you agree with me, say these 3 words. Run, Rod, run. Ready? Run, Rod, run.
Very good. Thank you so much.
What's the crime rate in Shreveport?
Well, it depends on how you measure it.
Okay, according to what you see.
I think it's way too high.
Wait,
I think way too high. Now, it's not easy to say, but it is. And, it's priority 1, if you ask me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What do you do actually at the district attorney's office clients in that office?
Homicide screen. When the police department arrests someone, I go through the cases to make sure the report's ready.
Or when they arrested you, the one that kind of
I actually go through the investigation, make sure
Okay,
everything's
you
in
do the
place.
investigation. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and, you know, we
See,
have a lot of
all
victims.
right. See, I was the chairman of the Caddo Court Observers.
Mhm.
So, when you are investigating people, how do you consider what we screen in or screen out of some of these crimes? Because I feel that we're, locking too many up, and we need to start screening up and get them into treatment more.
Well, my position is not that. Mine is basically to make sure that if someone's arrested, that everything that needs to be there is there. I don't make a decision on who's prosecuted, who's not prosecuted.
Yeah, okay.
But if somebody's arrested for a crime, and I look at this packet and I say, well, this is missing, or that's missing, and that person doesn't need to go through the system, or this is okay. Now, that's just my small part. Now, it goes through a lot of other people. My job is to make sure that the investigation is complete. I talk to a lot of crime victims. That's the other thing.
I was involved with the Cedar Grove Care Share Ministries many years ago. I think that you work with your family.
My family's actually from Parish, but I have relatives in Shreveport. Unfortunately, I don't really know a lot of them as well as I like to. I grew up in New Mexico, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Any other questions?
Yeah, but
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
As you're doing your research, it's not necessarily a question, but a point out. While you're doing your research, I would encourage you to look into the situation involving the downtown airport and the regional airport, which is all under the mayor and the airport authority. They're trying to rewrite some rules and regulations and procedures. However, there isn't a member of the airport board that has either worked in aviation, in a pilot, or knows one end of an airplane from another. And they are trying to tell us how to operate airplanes and airports. So you may look into that. These people are appointed by the mayor.
Well, one of the things that I believe in is putting round pegs and round holes in square pegs.
Yeah.
And I've heard a couple of people talk about, this guy's me. This guy's never been a politician or administrator. Well, I said the same thing for somebody that's a police officer. So it's the argument. I think the trick to doing anything correctly is getting the right people to do it correctly. So that's absolutely something that should be.
I'm just giving you a heads up.
One other comment. What really is embarrassing to me is all over the public works, trucks and cars, don't be trashy. Okay, and then you drive along the roadways, and particularly on the, viaducts and the, exit ramps, and there's just tires and trash everywhere.
And dead rats.
And I'm like,
Sofas. No.
may I ask, what's it gonna take for us just to clean up our roads, just to pick up the trash? I'm not gonna do it, I'm not paid to do it.
I can offer a non-specific answer.
Please, give us something.
I'm disparaging. But if you have someone that's in charge of whatever, cleanup, police, whatever. Yeah. They would have to explain, why is this like this?
Yeah.
It's just that simple. But people take their responsibility for granted, and they take the fact that there's accountability. And again, certainly I'm not speaking about anybody, but if someone calls me and says, there's been a dog that's dead in my mom's front yard for the past 2 weeks, and I'm not going to get it, or there's this going on that. My question to them is, who's in charge? We're a system. Our country is of checks and balances. Nobody gets to not do their job, unless people allow them.
I wanted to call, I didn't know who to call, a number of times.
Well, remember, there was one time when we assigned people in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, there's an old adage in police work. Yes, it's
Yeah, there's
Do your job.
What you can do.
Yeah, just do your job. Yeah. And
Folks have to get Rod off to Dallas. He's got to get over to Dallas and hop a plane out to Los Angeles. And I hope all of you, did all of you get a chance to meet, shake hands with Rod Demery? I certainly hope that you did. When it comes to calibering men, he has the right caliber. Rod, I'm glad that you go to King David, because all of us as men can relate to him. And God knows that this life of King David can relate to us as men. We have a president who could very well be King David.
Hey, Cyrus.
But he's the president.
When you went there, how do you feel that we can promote our history, you know, when you were growing up? Did you go to school through Caddo schools and then after that?
no, I went to school in New Mexico. I'm from New Mexico.
Okay, all right. And so I'm just trying to think about what you thought of Louisiana Purchase.
You know, growing up, I learned a lot about Louisiana, especially
Yeah.
the Cane River, because
Yeah, okay.
I went to a very good school.
So I would say, I went on a trip and I'm really excited. See, we're gonna have Miss USA here. And when they come in, we should be telling these people and showing them our history. We should be showing the great things, the 9 flags that flew over the state. And we need to tell about the history, the Spanish, all of them, and you being Mexican. And I'm a real strong believer, you know, that there were 9 flags that flew over some states, you know, and that we have a rich culture. And I'd like us to show that to the world. And also, I think we need to get a TV shows that broadcast our songs from here.
Very good. Brenda, thank you.
Thank you.